Hey guys, welcome back today. Another stream. Today I'm recording this the day before Thanksgiving, so it's quite quiet. The markets are, quite muted. So this was the day where the Bund did a little bit of an up move in through a lot of data. It wasn't necessarily the most nicest of moves to take on, and I felt like it was a bit difficult for me. But apart from that, a bit quiet at the moment. But today I want to talk to you about ECB when they moved several. Because at the moment I want to go back through a couple of these things where you're looking at the events and where more or less I'm doing better, but where you could really sort of excel and maybe take a bit of technicals, because this was a very good, I think, technical play that you had in this move, and how you can sort of trade straight off the bat. And I guess when it's not so clear, I don't think this was the most easiest of options, but I think the second leg that you created, you had a little bit of a range before you broke out on how you can probably be more aggressive at that point, where you're mixing a bit of news and technicals into play. So I'm just going to really go through the Evernote of this, and then I'll go the ladders as basically normal. So this is just a little write-up that I did afterwards, and how I wanted to sort of trade it. And for me, it's sort of at the moment, I just threw these charts in there because I know there's nothing on there, there's no detail, but my drawings are a bit further down. But mainly, your focus was, this is what I ended up putting on in my boxes. And this is where I think we were looking for a little bit too much information. Really, your focus was on this box. Obviously, several was used after the meeting, so you can see like an hour afterwards where she sort of uses several. Because several, they're using more meetings than less, so removing it gives you that more dovish tone, and you got a little bit of a blip down before reverse. You did the 75, so you got everything, and you're just looking for key points of change. But it's trying to get involved straight away, and you're trying to trust really your sort of highlights, and that's the best point I'm trying to get to. I like to react off the colours, and my brain functions that much easier. So I had this box, if nothing come up, so basically if this several didn't come up, nothing would have been there. So that was that the whole box was focused on one thing. And really then on a technical basis, you had, I'll look at the bigger picture first. So that was, what do you have there? So the Bund was set up like this in this little blue box, and then we had this up move. Yeah, so you had the longer end, rallying into this a bit more than the shorter end. This is why this gave you a little bit more of a structure. You had this sort of up move going into the ECB. You had this sort of little box, shall we say. You had the little flick down on straight off the bat before it then reversed straight back through the range, and you had sort of this poor high over here coincided with this little poor zone to really then attack to the upside. And that is mainly what I was looking at. I was trying to paint the picture coming from left to right going into it. But then I think what the key point is of this, where if you look at it from this point of view, where I just did this on this is 30 seconds afterwards. And when you watch the recording, you'll be able to see, I'll play it in like 2 times speed, so it's a little bit easier to watch from top to bottom. On understanding what your plan really is and how it reacts, because I need to get a bit better on how I plan and how then I actually execute the idea, because this could have been like a good full-size trade, whereas I don't take it as that. You get another second leg again, don't switch off to the next second leg, because this was sort of like the real dovish, like a pivot in a way, taking out several, reducing the amount of meetings they're going to hike, so therefore they're doing less hikes. Could still be more aggressive, go further aggressively, but they haven't said any of that, so that's sort of another sort of picture. But what you get is the chats wasn't very thick at all. That was, you'd have been paying up quite a bit. The spread on that was quite a bit, but the bubble really was your best meat of the move there, when you had a little range and it break out and a couple of levels. It still held right below their levels. That's where you could be aggressive. I started to buy small in here and then play more aggressive when it got through the highs. But I think you could then think of this a lot faster and how you react on that, because you could have actually bought down here on both times. because people haven't noticed. And it's being comfortable with going to doing that where people aren't really, maybe on the floor, people aren't saying something, but you got to then trust exactly what you wanted to do. So if you drop several, you just buy it. Whereas what we did, we're having too much focus on if they were going to do what the APP stuff was going to do. We had too many boxes and you weren't focused on necessarily the one right thing. So one key takeaway is that from focusing on what you think is the wrong thing, not having a big enough and better enough plan for the several part, which is what I didn't. That's why you trade it like you do. That was I think that's probably the biggest key takeaway. And the little small structure you got, there's like 50 ticks in the bobble. I mean, that's great when you can get a lot of size away. The Schatz again did a really good move because it's going to go towards the shorter end, of course, when it's direct. So the structure and the technical led into this really well because we had too much focus on this box, whereas this box gave you nothing, which is literally the perfect point. I know she uses several at some point in the meeting. I did try to start selling it from there, but I just wanted to talk about the main focus on this point. So, I mean, it's really just all about a little technical move with dropping some language, and you can really build such a high conviction trade on it. So I just wanted to watch it set on 2 times. If I put it on 2 times speed, so you'll be able to see. So this is just before it. So, and again, the wrong market to go to, and I actually, so you had deck 22, so you have the Euribor here in the blue. So they're in the blue. So you had the terminal, which was 23, set 23 at this point, where this goes a hell of a long way versus what this one does. I was looking to try and target the 85s, and I'm trying to learn how to trade these markets a little bit more. And this is where, if you had a better plan, understand these a little bit more, these two, you can trade the longer stuff, more like the terminal, because they're bringing then less hikes, so therefore the terminal then can go back up, and that gave you great value. There's a good iceberg at one point. Versus, again, these two still offered you great value. So Schatz and Bobble, but I had BTP and Euro stocks up just in case they did like collateral and stuff. But we're watching from here, and I take a little bit of time in the beginning, so it all comes out and you get the 75 dumped down, but this point in here was the point where you could start buying this because you've noticed several's disappeared. Maybe get a clip away and that's it. Obviously the Schatz is quite wide. And then you start to get this reversal back up. So you could have bought 24s to 27s, say. You're already nicely on side and everything gets picked up. So that's done 40 ticks already. And you still got these technical views in play. Maybe you cover something on the way up, but it gives you really short time, 1 minute candles. It gave you good risk reward in the end, just a very simple little structure. This hasn't really moved, the debt 22s haven't really moved. Again, it's the wrong market to sort of go to over this. Whereas you can see this has moved from about down here to up here. So when your main focus is over here, like you had some technical levels at these little in the green, but you've got to be patient. And this is where trade 2 markets, and I was trying to really focus on getting a better entry rather than really size up on it. That was sort of the main focus for me. I was trying to just be a little bit more patient than get really a lot of size up. I mean, I had 10 lots in the Schatz, which is nothing. I could try to get like 50 or 60 at least away on this, and you could be really aggressive with it because the momentum builds. So I was looking at the bottom of those ranges, maybe can I just pick it up a lot lower? And again, you buy it with a lot less size, to be honest, in the beginning, then you get a little bit more aggressive. I felt this was the right thing to do. This had an iceberg, I think it was at this price here. So you could still get aggressive in that market. I know there's not much liquidity in it, but if you're understanding what this is doing, this is removing several with sort of a little bit of a repricing sort of move in a way, because you're taking away that, even though they didn't actually really mean to do that in the end. So again, this is where I end up becoming too unsure with it, because I buy 5. I mean, I don't know why I'm buying 5 lots, and I should be willing to risk a little bit more. So I've got another 5 of those. And when you've got this, and then I start buying the bubble a lot higher, but when you've got such a clear technical move, you could get real good size away on here, you know. And this is where my technicals lead into such a great sort of advantage when it comes to these points, because you've got double whammy, you've got news and the data. So you got the 83s coming into place, you know. So then I buy out to like 25. So I'm getting aggressive, probably in the right zone. Maybe a bit too early here, but when you're buying through this part was a little bit choppy, but you look at how far the Schatz has gone and it's just exploding now. Like this point here was the best chance to get aggressive. I didn't need to panic so much, I don't think, to get out. This is where I should have been in your head. When you've mapped all of this stuff out, because the Schatz has gone a long way, you could have been aggressive in that market first. And once these key levels break, I shouldn't be scaling out on these moves, because this goes another like 40 ticks through. But this is when I get more panic. It's like more panicky, and I need to get out when I don't need to get out, because you could really size up along here. And now you're out of like half by the time it's got to where you really didn't need to get out. And this is where the focus is, having that real clear plan, because I have 5 lots for another 20 ticks or so. And if you can get really good size away on this, it manages, because this market here, you could have been started buying around sort of this part, maybe a little bit higher, sort of in here. You know, if you could buy 50 of those, there's like 20 ticks there. You know, there's like 10k on that point. And, you know, I buy 25, and that, you know, your value and your high probability is in this market. You know, I have an average price of in the 70s here, and it's 40 ticks up. You know, on the 25 lots, you know, it's a massive difference rather than what you actually do end up making on it. The technical moves, you get that final explosion. It's having that real clear plan in place, which I clearly didn't have, to then take advantage of what it ended up becoming, basically. So that's what I wanted to talk about, and how you're executing it for one, the technicals, the news, having your best plan, because if you don't follow your plan, then you're looking a bit of a fool. And this year I haven't really followed plans well enough. It's like these sort of events where you can, you know, you can just really size up, and that's what it's about, trying to find your high conviction points. Even though in this market here, these two, the Euribor, you know, there's no harm in trying to learn something else, because sometimes these are better markets to trade over some comments and things like that. You know, repricing events. I'm going to do one. I think I might do one on the Fed. I don't know if Richard's going to use my recording somewhere for a video. I'm not entirely sure, so he might be able to explain it on that front. But that's mainly what I wanted to just have a chat through, is when you've got your plan, don't need to overcomplicate it, because that's what I put in here. Too much focus on the Teltro stuff. I was in way too much size. I didn't have the right plan. And this was the box you needed to focus on. Your language change is the biggest key point. The ongoing thing over the Fed, where it didn't pay out straight away for people. And then you got to try and recover. And that's what I did a little thing with Richard yesterday on, talking about that. So I think he might use my recording for something else as well. But I really want to start going through the technicals for me at the moment haven't really been working so well. So like all your key events, where the things that I've actually done well throughout the year, how I'm improving on those and trying to push forward in that front, because that's where a lot of your money is coming from. Understanding these banks, these comments, and trying to do those sort of things. Because I managed to be here for the Russia-Poland thing. I'm going to do one on that. So it's all about really focusing on where you're trying to improve, and we'll throw some more things where I haven't gone so well on as well. But mainly that's what the focus was about. Trying to do your plan, focus on that, and just trade it. And even if you lose, but at least you stuck to your plan. It's rather than buying loads of size in the completely wrong area and sort of completely messing up your own sort of trading. But that'll be it from me today. If you want to get in touch, info@axiafutures.com. I'll be back soon. Cheers, guys.